Hello, my friends. John LaRuffa here with another rules speed through. And in this episode, we're going to take a look at Endeavor Deep Sea. I'm going to teach you how to play this from a solo standpoint and hopefully refresh you on any of the rules that maybe you've learned before or just need to brush up on. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, folks, and as usual, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And if you have, I really do appreciate that support. Thank you so much. So this is what the game is going to look like at the end. Okay, so I've already accomplished everything I was going to with an unfortunate loss. But what you have here, I'm going to explain the mechanics. And first, I'll start with what you see in the board. So first, you have this dashboard here that covers off on a couple of different tracks. This track right here indicates how, well, I guess you should say the level of specialist you can recruit. So the further over to the right of the track you are, the more you will move into these different icons, and then that will let you recruit more powerful specialists. Okay, and so you have the specialists right here and the level 1 column, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You always recruit the specialist on the blue side. The blue side is the non-skilled or the junior side. When you promote them, you flip them over to the gold side. All right, so that's what the first track does. The second track, this green one, will tell you how many of these action discs you will get to put into your action area here, your queue, every round. The third one, this yellow one, will tell you how many action discs you can remove. So in this case, I can remove 3 from my specialists. And the ones that I don't remove, I basically I'm going to have to leave those in place, potentially blocking them in the round, because you could promote them. If you promote them, you will discard this action disc and you could free it up. And then finally, this tells you how many, the blue one tells you how many spaces your submarines can move, okay? Not only that, they can basically move 1 space per cog, but it also tells you the depth. So you can't get to a depth like this. This is a 4 depth, which should be actually down here. I shouldn't even have it on the board. Must have grabbed the wrong one. But this one in particular is it should be over here. A 4 depth. So that means you cannot get to this spot unless you have at least your token in that area. Okay. So the basic situation here is you're going to go through that every round, this, and this, and then you're going to take your turn. So in a solo game, there are 7 rounds. You will choose a mission. The mission itself will have a starting setup indication of what you're supposed to do. It'll tell you where to put out your cards. Sometimes it'll tell you exactly which ones, and then it'll say draw like a random one from here. When you do that, there are cards that are specific and then cards that can be random. So the specific ones, I'm going to move this one right here so you can see it. These cards, if you ever see something with that little star in that area, it has to be called for by the scenario. Otherwise, you discard it, you don't put it in. So it's specific to the scenario. The ones that don't have that, there's nothing there. You can just draw them as random as you go. Now, the scenario will also have specific goals that you must accomplish in order to win the game. Now, you don't have to accomplish all of these goals because you're going to have 3 goals that are going to come out in these goal cards that are random each game out of 6. And they also tell you certain things that you have to do. Now, when you are trying to win, the whole point of the game is you're going to choose to play on one of 4 different difficulty levels. The first difficulty level, to win, you have to at least accomplish 4 goals. 5 goals for the next, 6 goals for the next, and all 7 for the extreme difficulty. The goals are, 3 of them are listed right here. And when you're playing one player, you have to achieve whatever it says. Like, for instance, this one says you got to do it 10 times, or this one 7 times, or this one 5 times. Okay, so they're very specific. But this is a mistake I made when I was reviewing them. You don't actually score any victory points for completing any of these goals. This goal here for victory points, you score only from the points you score over here, the points you might get from the journal cards. So like this one, you see how that says 1 point? That's a point that you would add. And any of the points that you would get for flipping over and promoting your specialists, okay? That is how, if you get up to 20 or more points, you will accomplish this scoring goal. So just don't be distracted like I was. We're thinking, oh yeah, I'm also getting these. No, That is not part of the deal. Okay? And then you have your other goals that can vary in random things. Like this one says, you know, I have to fully complete zones, meaning I have to do everything possible in the zone, and I have to do that for 4 zones. I would then complete this goal. Or in this one, I have to have a token in at least 11 different zones. Okay? These are zones, by the way, each of these little squares. So you have to do that. Now, at the beginning of every round, you're going to be drawing from this bonus goal or this setback deck. And you put the 3 bonus goals on top. So at the beginning of each round, you are going to reveal one of these goals. And this is going to be one of the 3 that you have to do. In the second round, you reveal another one. In the third round, you reveal another one. So by the third round, you know exactly what you have to do in this game to win. And then for rounds 4 through 7, you're going to reveal a setback, which is going to implement some little condition that is going to throw you off your game. And that will move things around or adjust things or just kind of mess with you just ever so slightly to make it difficult for you to do exactly what you were thinking you were going to do that turn. Now, let's talk about the actual turn flow. So I said the first thing you're going to do is you're going to reveal the top card from this deck. Then you're going to step through these 3 steps. You are going to recruit a specialist, and you're going to look where you are on this track to see which one you can recruit. Now, depending on how far you are over, you can recruit from that level and all the way back. When you recruit the specialist, you put them over here. Let's say I recruited a level 3 specialist. I would basically put it down right here. That would give me this action that I could take. But if a specialist has any of these icons on them, I would immediately get those benefits on my track before even going down to those. So I may influence my track in a positive way on the exact turn I got it. Then, like I said, I would get a certain amount of action discs. In this case, I'd get 5 action discs to put in this area to use on the turn. And then I would return a specific amount of action discs from my specialist to this area. And then there is nothing you do in this with this bottom one. Okay? The one track I didn't talk about was this DNA track. And this you're going to use to pay for journal cards or to pay for conservation actions. And I'll talk about those in just a second. So basically, once you do that and you have a new specialist, then you will take all the actions that you decide to take and then finally pass. And when you pass, you have ended the round. You do exactly what I said again. You do that 7 times, meaning the game will end when you effectively have 8 specialists, your leader and 7 other ones, even though I've got more here, I just put that down. That will trigger the end of the game. And then you see which goals you've accomplished. And if you've accomplished enough of them, you win. Okay, let's talk about some specifics here. So the first action I want to talk about is movement. Very simple. And I'm going to use the leader because the leader they have all these. Okay, so anytime you use the leader, he can do every single action you want in the game. One or the other or the other or the other. Obviously, it's a slash, so you just do one of them. So movement is that little captain's wheel. And you will look to see any one of your explorers. You can move, okay? And when you move them, you can move them a certain amount of spaces based on how much you've unlocked on this track. And that also includes the depth, like I told you before. You can't go you can't go to any region where you don't have at least that amount of depth on the board, all right? Or on your board. And so you're literally going to move this around. And when you move it, you can't go diagonal. You have to go orthogonal, okay? So I'd be like, for instance, I could go 1, 2, stop there if I wanted, because I have up to 5 movement. And so when I do that, wherever I remain, doesn't matter what I enter, but wherever I remain, I will get this bonus right here. This is going to be the zone bonus, the entry bonus for where you ever go, or arrival bonus, I think is what they call it. So you would do this and you would move up on that track, okay? Now, once I'm there, I can, from now on, once I'm there, I can take actions in this area just by the fact that I have one of my explorers in that area. And by the way, you start with 1 explorer on the arrival spot, but you can unlock 2 more of your submarine explorers. They also go wherever you arrived for the setup of the game, and you can move them around as well, just like I just moved those, okay? And so that is how you're going to basically move around the board and do different things. And the good news is that while you're doing the arrival, you are, or while you're doing the movement, you still are gaining certain things based on arriving in different spots. So that's kind of cool. Even though you're just moving, you're also getting things that you need. So that's a plus. Okay. And you're only allowed to move one vessel. You cannot split up that movement. Okay. Think about this: is that that guy is, being the captain of that area. All right. And he's going to basically move that one spot. So you can't move like two over here and one over there with a different one. Okay. Second thing, the sonar. All right. The sonar looks like this. And by the way, if any of these things allow you to take an action twice, you can spend one disc to take an action twice, once and then again. When you're taking the sonar, you have to be in a spot that has a sonar action space available. So this one has a bunch of different sonar action spaces available. What you'll do is you'll put one of your action discs on that specialist, just like you would over here. And then you have to have an additional action disc to cover up the space that you want to use. And if there's a space that's got two of them, you have to do this one first before you can do this one, okay? But if they're separated like that, you can start with any of those. Once you cover the space, you do what it says. Sometimes it's just gain a bonus on a track and maybe a DNA. But if it says something like this, 1 to 4, that means you're allowed to get 2 of these zone tiles. You're always drawing 2, and you could draw them from any zone 1 to 4, okay? If it says 4 plus, you can do 4 or deeper. If it says 3, it's just got to be 3. And so there are all sorts of different specific places you can draw them. But you leave that disc will remain on the board for the rest of the game unless one of the setbacks pulls it off. And then you will take it. So for instance, I said 2 out of the 3. So that would be this one right here. This is zone 3. I would take 2 of these. I would flip them over. I would decide which one I want to place. And then I have to put it in zone 3. And it has to be in a spot that goes down from there. So for instance, I couldn't put it where there's a gap or anything like that. But I can put it in this spot over here. I can put it in this spot over here. When I do that, I will do everything it says here. I will gain 2 of these tracks over here, my influence track or my fame or whatever it is. I would then also do, in this case, this is a special, this is like a mini expansion. So I would put together whatever it says in the mini expansion and set that up. But let's just look at this one. That's even simpler. Sometimes if they have dive tokens, that's when you would add the dive tokens or anything they ask you to do. So let me see here. Here's more dive tokens. So this one, you would get these 2 icons, and it shows that 4 right there. You're going to add 4 dive tokens from the dive token pool face down right here that you can interact with later. And each of these zones might have something specific to it, which I'm not going to get into because they're varied. But thankfully, they did a great job spelling out all of those things right here. So they're all there, which is really helpful. Okay, so that's what the sonar is like. You need at least 2 discs to accomplish it. Now, if you're going to play your second sonar like I showed you there, you don't need a second disc on here, but you do need to have a second disc to put out someplace else. Okay? Now, the third action I'll talk about is the dive action. That's this one right here. Really simple. If you are on a spot that has diving tokens, you would activate this guy. I know it's both of them. We're just going to focus on the dive action. And then I take the top token and then I would reveal it. And I can spend this token at any time I turn to either get 4 DNA samples, or in this case, it would be a bonus on any of these 4 tracks. And I could spend it, and when I spend it, I would get it, and that would be it. It's a once and done. Some of them also give you once and done actions, like this one. I could spend and do another dive action. If I don't want to spend it right away, I can just hold it in that little area right there. And that is the dive action. Next action we'll talk about is conserve. So if I'm in this spot right here, I could spend a token to do the conservation action right here. And then after spending it, I would have to have a token free, and I would put it on any one of these conservation actions. And I have to have a specific number of DNA to spend, in this case 1 or 4, sometimes 0, and I would cover that up. I would get whatever's inside the circle, and if I ended up making, here, let's take this off, a link between 2, I would then gain the bonus inside the link. So in this case, I would immediately get another action disc. And so that's how the conserve action works. All right, put that over there for a second. And now the final action is the journal action. So the journal action is this one right here. And this is another one that requires 2 tokens, just like the conserve action does and the sonar action. You place a token down on your activation, the person you're going to activate, and then you draw from one of 4 cards that aren't shown in this. I'm going to move this up here a second. You draw from one of 4 cards that will be dealt out over here. The symbol that you are going to try to activate must match the symbol you are trying to journal. Here's a good example. Pull this out here. This one has a journal piece that needs this. Okay, so if I'm going to be here, of course, I have to have everything I'm talking about. You have to have your explorer, your submarine on the actual zone you're interacting with. Okay, the only difference is that is the sonar, whenever you place the zone, it doesn't have to be next to exactly where you're placing. I'm sorry, where you are. But anyway, you're going to put a disc over here, and then you have to find a journal that has that icon. In this case, this one does. Now, you will always get all the benefits no matter what you have over here. It just has to have one of those symbols that you're looking for. This would cost me 2 DNA. I'd spend it for my board. And then I would gain the benefit here. So that means that would be 2 upgrades on my, my blue track. And at the end of the game, this would be count 2 points for the scoring goal that we talked about earlier that you're trying to accomplish if you want that one. And then as soon as you accomplish, you flip another card over. Now, some of these cards have this icon on here. This is for a co-op game, not for you. You just ignore that. Some of these cards have something like this, which means I could play as an action one of my discs on this and do specifically what it says. In this case, it means conserve even to the spot to the left or to the right of where my submarine is. Okay, so that's how the journal action goes. And that is pretty much it. The other, like I said, the other thing, one thing I want to talk about is you're going to gain these impact tokens, okay, which are these star tokens right here. Every time you land on one of these spaces, you will get one. And if you're at this space and you were to move further, you go back to this space and get another one. These impact tokens are spent on the impact board. And they're very simple. Let's get rid of that stupid glare. The impact board allows you to play any of the tokens. You can play them at any of the arrow spots that you want or anything touching one of the other impact tokens you've already played on. So in this case, like I could play it here, 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 or here. Lots of different things. And depending on if you cover up an icon, you get whatever's inside of it. If it's a yellow one, it's worth 1 point. If it's a orange, it's worth 2. And some of the other missions will have other ones too, right? It's this one says 1, 2, and 3 points. So it all varies. And when you're putting these out here, you will be trying to score points or gain benefits to your tracks or get other things, other rewards. In this case, you can put any number of tokens over here if you ever were to get into that spot. They'd all be worth 2 points. And that's pretty much it. So you play 7 rounds, you try to accomplish the 4 goals, and you do everything I just said in any combination you want. I didn't specifically talk about promotions, but the way you promote your people, a lot of these journal cards have this skill right there. And that means whenever I take a card like this, I would choose one of my specialists that's on the blue side, and I would flip them over and promote them. Now, if I promote them, they can't go back, and if they have other additional things, I would gain those bonuses right away. Also, if there's a disc on them, that disc gets discarded to my supply, basically out of the game for now. It's not out of the game, but it's out of your ability to use. It's not in here. All right, that should pretty much cover it. Let me know if I missed anything, of course, in the comments. And that's it. Yeah, this is a great game. Great game. I hope you really like it. Hope you enjoy it. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. Whatever you do in the future, I really hope you have a fantastic time doing it. Take it easy, everybody.